In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful, welcome to another session of Lessons from My Mother. We are on lesson number 33. Thank you for whoever watches or whoever even doesn't watch. Thank you for letting me exist online. I'm happy that I get to share some content. This is only a trope. I start from different things all the time. Sometimes I put it on, sometimes I don't. So we're on lesson number 33. Next week you'll see me in a slightly different setting because I'm traveling today. Hopefully everything goes safe and sound, and next week I'll be in a place that I've never been before. And hopefully I'm able to broadcast from there and show you where I am. Why ruin the surprise now? Let it happen when it does happen. Lesson number 33 is compassion, not naivete. Instead of naivete, you can also, if you are so bold, you could use the term foolishness, idiocy, ignorance, stupidity. I chose the word naivete because that's how my mum used to describe it to us. In Urdu, we use the term bhola, biba. The certain terms that are used to describe somebody who's uninitiated in the ways of the world. Now, life is beautiful. The world is easy. You want something, you can get it just like that. People are kind and nice. Everybody loves everyone else and has their best interests at heart. Nobody's dreams conflict with anybody else's dreams. This is the world we live in. Let's put this world here. Then there's another world. Everyone hates everyone else. Many people even hate themselves. Most people are out to get you and cut your legs from under you just to get to where they want to go. Nobody's happy in your success. Nobody wants what's good for you. They all want what they want. They're greedy, they're hungry, they're gluttonous, they cheat, they lie, they steal. The world is a cesspool of depravity, animalistic indulgences, wild behavior, uncontrolled violence, and pain. Let's put that world here. We have two different worlds now. Somebody who is naive would simply believe this world, that it exists. Everything is beautiful. Everyone loves everything, like a child would. If you raise a child right, without committing strong acts of violence or pain against them or exposing them to other emotional turmoil, they grow up sufficiently protected and in their bubble and say, oh, yeah, everything's great. We all remember we were all children once. And then they grow up and reality starts hitting them and their heart breaks, and then it rebuilds and breaks and rebuilds, and they get stronger with time and age. That's a child. Then there are people who are cynics, who were either raised in extremely difficult circumstances or who've grown up and just realized, oh, this world is a mess. I don't even want to be alive. I don't want anyone to be alive. Either they support nihilism or they support genocide or they support yet another Noah's flood that's on the other side. Sanity exists on the spectrum in between. It's neither here nor there. Sanity encourages you to believe in the best in people, but be prepared for the worst of them. That's always the case with sanity. Compassion and mercy are not necessarily sane behaviors. If you were to construct a rationalist structure, good morning, Walaikum assalam. Good to see you. Thank you for dropping by. So mercy and compassion don't fall into the rational logical structure. They don't have to. Capitalism, pure evolution can also work. You could just pure survival of the fittest, and only the fit keep surviving. It's just the herd keeps thinning, and maybe there will come a point of time where it's a very small group of people because everybody else is dying. So, for the weak, for your loved ones, that capacity is instilled in you, which goes beyond the sanity rational model. And you start thinking, well, I need to protect the old. I need to protect the children. I need to protect my loved ones. And you start developing that. And then you start developing feelings of compassion and mercy, even to those who are not in your immediate sphere of priority. You just say, okay, there's somebody who has trouble walking or can't hear properly, or somebody's fallen down. We still have this urge. I know we live in the gig economy and everybody's locked into their smartphones and AirPods, but I know for a fact that people still give up their seats in certain parts of the world. I make a point of pushing cars and helping people with their boxes and bags. I know other people do as well. There's still that thing within us, and it doesn't make me a greater man just because I do it. It's just something we do because we endeavor to maintain this capacity for compassion and mercy in ourselves. However, particularly when you're young, that capacity can be taken advantage of. And not only when you're young, but also when you're older. Let's say you're a giving person, like so many of us are. You give of your wealth, you give of your time, of your resources, of your love, your knowledge, your advice, of your home. You offer it to people. It's very easy for them to take advantage of this. Um, I'll give an example because I remember this. I don't know how old I was. I think I was 10. So this was only a few years ago. I think I was very young. And we were traveling by bus from Islamabad to Lahore, which is my mother's maiden town. I don't know. She grew up there. We were going to see my grandmother. And we were sitting, we had paid for our seats, and we were sitting. Um, and it was one of those buses which wasn't only allocated seating. People could pay a cheaper fare, a much cheaper fare, and then just stand and just stand. So that ended up happening. Um, and this tall gentleman was standing next to my brother's chair, my brother's seat. My brother was sitting, he was fast asleep, and this fellow came and stood next to my brother's armrest. And my mum, because she knows what's what and she's come out of these circumstances, her eyes just darted and she watched the person and she told my brother, cover your armrest. And he tried to cover it because only 10 minutes later, that gentleman had moved my brother's arm off the armrest through his ass or his legs, just nudged it off, and was slightly leaning on the armrest, just gently. And my mother didn't notice, and she was like doing some sewing or something. And the next she saw, because she called him out, I saw as well, and he was sitting on the armrest with his arm on my brother's chair and just like this. And my mother said, "Hey, what are you doing?" He said, "Oh, it's okay." She said, "No, we paid for these seats. What are you doing?" He said, "No, it's okay." She said, "No. No, I'm complaining about it. No, you can't. Oh, why don't you try to do it on this side? Oh, because I'm a grown woman and that's a child and you're trying to impose your space on the child's space. Get up." And he got up and he moved away and he probably tried to do it somewhere else. And I said to her, I remember I was 10, so I was somewhat cognizant. And I said, "Mom, why didn't you let him just lean?" And she said, "No, because he's going to start with the armrest and very soon he'd say, just make some room for me. Let me sit down." I said, "Yeah, but what's wrong with that?" I was 10, so I didn't really know, but I could ask questions. And she said, "Because if you start being a pushover here, you can be pushed in other domains as well. So you need to know where to stand your ground." And it's naive to say, "Oh, this person is just leaning on my armrest." It's the old story of the camel who is welcomed into the tent, who ends up kicking the owner of the tent out because first the head comes in, then the neck, then the body, then the legs, and then the owner is kicked out. I know we like to believe that human beings are not like that. I know we like to believe that. But try to be objective in this regard. Don't try to look at it through the Disney Hollywood lens of, oh, everybody's giving, everybody's loving. Many people are not. And it's not just the villains. There's a spectrum, as I explained, from one world to the other. And many people exist across the spectrum. It isn't just the good guys and the villains. And oh, we love Disney and we're full of feelings and love, therefore we're the good guys. Many people are scattered across it who will try to take advantage of you and your lack of knowledge and your lack of expertise. Experience, not expertise, lack of experience. So the goal was you want to be compassionate to the weak, to the poor. Sure, do it. Nothing's stopping you from being compassionate. It is one of the greatest human endeavors to develop compassion and mercy. But don't get taken advantage of. I'll give you another example. I was 20, and I had left England, and I was working as an intern on a construction site because I was becoming an architect. So I was an intern, and I remember this security guard who would sit outside the building. He wouldn't do much. He would just sit because there were 500 laborers on the construction site. So he was just sitting there in case somebody new comes along. That was about it. And he was able to get my phone number. Oh, who's this fellow? Oh, and people didn't know what an intern was. And because I was doing the duties of the on-site architect, they thought I was the on-site architect. But I was an intern. I was 20. And I would run around and I'd give orders and look at construction drawings. But those orders didn't come from me. They came from the boss, or they came from the architect. I was the junior on site. But because I look different, because I'm educated differently, thank God, thank my parents, because I dressed differently in trousers rather than shalwar kameez, they would say, "Oh, so he's what in the professional class? Okay." And he looks different and he speaks differently. Okay, fair enough. And he comes at this time, leaves at this time, eats with these people, so and so forth. So the security guard started calling me. And he said, "Oh, sir, you're an architect, you're this, you're that. I'm so impressed to know you. I'm so this, I'm so that." And I never understood what he was trying to do at that time. And then he started saying, "I need 3,000 rupees." And mind you, I was an intern. I didn't have money. I was an intern. I was doing it to learn. And only later my boss started offering me an intern's salary. I didn't know how to say no to this guy. I just kept saying, yeah, okay, because I had gone from England and I hadn't paid attention to this lesson from my mother, or I had forgotten it. I was like, yeah, I'm just being compassionate. I'm just being loving. I'm just being caring. I'm just being a great Muslim. I'm just being a great Sufi or whatever. I'm following Gandhi and Edhi and Mandela and Dr. King. I'm following Mother Teresa. I'm following all these people who I admire. This person kept calling me. And I said, "Look, I just have 1,000 rupees, which is actually what I had." And he said, "Oh, how can you just have 1,000? You're an architect." And I said, "No, I'm an intern." I said, No, you're an architect." I ended up meeting him and giving him 1,000 rupees at that age because I was like, "Oh, I feel bad for the person. I don't know what to do." There's this thing in me which is saying, be compassionate, be loving. The Lord will love you more and more, and so forth. And I ended up giving him that money. And when he took it, he said, "Oh, thank you, sir. I'll come for the rest later." And at that point, I said, "No, I won't have any more later." No, I can try next month. I said, "No, I don't think I'll have any more later." No. I said, "Oh, okay, I'll just check." I said, "Sure, you can check. I'll let you know." Called me 2 weeks later, and I said, "Nah, I don't have any more." I felt used. I really did feel used at that time. For nothing. Why was he getting all that money from me? I didn't have any. So I had given that. And I felt used. and exploited. So then when he called, I said, no, sorry. And I kept smiling. I was like, no, 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 sorry. And he's like, sir, oh, sir, you've changed. Oh, you've this, all those manipulation tactics, gaslighting, as we call today. And I was like, no, no, I can't, no. And because in my heart, I felt, oh, somebody's just, he didn't say, sir, thank you for this. Let me buy you a drink. Oh, I'm so grateful. I'm going to do this with the money. He was just like, yeah, I'll come for the rest later. How you will. So I did tell this to my mum after a while because I was embarrassed. I felt used and exploited. So I told her, and she said, why'd you give him the money? I said, I don't know. I was being compassionate. She said, do you have a lot of money? I said, no. Then why are you giving other people money? Charity begins at home. First, look after yourself. Then look after your immediates, then your neighbors, then go beyond. This stranger can come to you and be all, oh, you need to earn, oh, give me some money, and touch on your naive compassion, and you just give in to that. Why would you do that? I was like, no, yeah, I feel exploited. And I remember the feeling because when I gave him, like you can tell from my face, I can go back into that memory. And I remember, I was like, what does it mean he's going to come and get the rest from me later? Based on what social connection? Based on what principle? And at that moment, something flipped in me, and I said, no, 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 it's not going to happen. And he realized, he said, okay, maybe I'll try him on the phone later. And then when I went to the construction site, he would say, sir, how are you? And I was like, yep, I'm good. And he started feeling, oh, I've receded. So he would come to me and said, sir, you don't talk to me anymore. Sir, is everything okay? I was like, yeah, yeah, all good, just busy. But in my mind, I was thinking, look, buddy, I'm young. I came from a developed country and I came from better means than you. And you played on my guilt and played on my emotion and my compassion to maneuver this out of me. I don't like what you've done. I'm disappointed. Not only in you, I'm disappointed in me, I'm disappointed in us. Is this the society we're living in? So I will maintain my compassion with a bit more intelligence, uh, maybe not cynicism or skepticism, but a bit more caution now. Because it's one thing to give, but it's one thing to be taken from. They're two very different things. To give is an act of agency, and to be taken from is an act of exploitation. So I made that distinction. 20, in my opinion, is still late. You can make this distinction as early as 10, 12, once you start learning. But because I had come from England, and in England, this thing is drummed in you that this is a developed country, the developing countries are far behind you, and so on and so forth, you develop this mindset. But after that, I developed it, and thank God I still maintain it. I'm still compassionate, still helpful, still merciful, still generous, still manage to be generous after living wherever and however I've lived. But now it's much harder to make a fool out of me. It's much harder to make me say, "Oh yeah, I'll give you my money." No, no, that's it's much harder to do that. So that is to be compassionate but not naive. Um, and I think my mom taught us this when we were very young. But when we were out from our parents' shadows, and were dealing with the world on our own, then these lessons will start coming back, and I'd say, yeah, mom used to say that too. Oh, absolutely. This is so correct. There are other instances of this happening when I was younger, helping people out, and then um, for no reason, um, because in England that's drummed in you that it's, I don't know if it's just England, it's just, um, yeah, in fact, it is. Maybe in America as well. If you watch TV in England, you get these repeated adverts of Oxfam and Amnesty International and UNICEF, and give £2 a month for this, and give £2 a month for this, and £1 a month for this. And you start watching and you start saying, look, I'm sitting on my sofa, my father's sofa, but it's my sofa. I'm sitting on this sofa in my father's house, which is paid for. We have enough food to last us a month, thankfully, or weeks. We have this, we have that, we have this, we have that. I can order KFC just like that. Look at that child sitting in Africa, thirsty. um, not malnutrition is rampant. All of that, and you start watching and you said, I need to give back more. So it's drummed into you there. You're exposed to that more. In Pakistan, this would rarely be on TV. The advert I remember on TV would be "Bache do hi achhe," which means just two kids. Don't reproduce like bunnies. Don't have 10 children. Have two, because they were telling us about population control. So I remember those adverts from Pakistan, and you go to England and you see all this. Oh, help the others out and go beyond. So that's developed in you. Humanitarianism is taught, developed, it emerges, particularly in England, but also in Canada, also in America. You see it. So I went with that mindset back to Pakistan to work on the construction site for a whole year. And for the first, I think, the 3 months I was there, in the beginning, this exploitation happened. And then after that, I wisened up a bit and I said, yeah, no, that's not happening. No, that's not. And I was starting to say, okay, this is my money, these are my resources, this is what I'm doing. Okay, I'm on guard now. So be compassionate, be generous, be merciful, be loving, but don't get taken advantage of just because of purity or naivete. That's another lesson. But thank you so much for joining me. On Friday, I'll be somewhere else, and on Monday, I'll be somewhere else. So hopefully, I'm able to stream and share where I am. So thank you and have a wonderful week ahead. Take care.